Can you imagine waking up one morning to discover that your favorite team just traded away the heart and soul of their championship core for a collection of unproven prospects and salary relief? The basketball world is buzzing with a trade proposal so audacious, so utterly shocking, that it has Celtics fans either reaching for antacids or frantically refreshing their phones to make sure it's not real news. Bleacher Report has floated the unthinkable, trading Jaylen Brown to the Detroit Pistons in what would be the most stunning roster deconstruction since the Brooklyn Nets sold their future for aging superstars. This isn't just another off-season trade rumor. This is a proposition that would fundamentally alter the DNA of the Boston Celtics and send shockwaves through the entire NBA landscape. Let's dive into the details of this earth-shattering proposal that has analysts and fans in complete disbelief. Detroit would acquire Jaylen Brown, a legitimate all-star wing in his prime, in exchange for Ron Holland II, Jaden Ivey, Tobias Harris, and a protected 2027 first-round pick. On paper, it's a fascinating collection of assets, but in reality, it represents the kind of franchise-altering move that either creates dynasties or destroys championship dreams. From Detroit's perspective, this trade is nothing short of a masterstroke. Imagine pairing Brown's elite two-way abilities with Cade Cunningham's emerging superstar potential. Suddenly, the Pistons transform from Eastern Conference bottom feeders into legitimate playoff contenders with a foundation that could compete for years to come. Adding Brown to a young core that already includes Ausar Thompson and Jalen Duren would accelerate their rebuilding timeline by at least 3 seasons. But here's where this proposal becomes absolutely mind-boggling. Why would Boston even consider dismantling a partnership that has already proven it can win at the highest level? The Brown-Tatum duo isn't some failed experiment. They're a legitimate championship tandem that has consistently elevated the Celtics into contention. Jaylen Brown's impact extends far beyond basic statistics, but even those numbers tell the story of an elite player entering his prime. Last season's averages of 22.2 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 4.4 assists represent consistent all-star production, but they don't capture his defensive versatility, clutch performance, or leadership qualities that make him irreplaceable. Brown represents everything modern NBA teams covet. A 6 feet 6 inches wing who can defend multiple positions, create his own offense, and elevate his game in crucial moments. Players with his combination of size, skill, and two-way impact don't become available through trades. They're typically locked up with maximum contracts and surrounded by complementary pieces. The financial reality makes this trade even more perplexing for Boston. According to Spotrac, the Celtics would save $7.7 million in 2025-26 salary. But is that modest savings worth trading away a cornerstone player? Organizations don't win championships by cutting costs. They win by maximizing talent and maintaining their competitive advantages. For the Pistons, acquiring Brown would represent the kind of transformational move that changes franchise trajectories overnight. They've been methodically building through the draft, accumulating young talent, and hoping for development. But Brown would provide immediate star power and playoff experience that typically takes years to acquire. Pairing Brown with Cunningham creates an elite backcourt combination that could challenge any team in the Eastern Conference. Brown's veteran leadership and championship experience would accelerate the development of Detroit's young players while providing the kind of on-court production that translates to wins immediately. The Pistons have salary cap flexibility and future assets, making them the perfect trade partner for a team looking to acquire talent without mortgaging their entire future. Ron Holland II and Jaden Ivey represent legitimate prospects with significant upside, while Tobias Harris provides veteran presence and expiring salary relief. While Detroit's package offers intriguing pieces, it falls woefully short of Brown's actual value. Ron Holland II remains unproven at the NBA level, carrying the kind of developmental risk that championship contenders can't afford to gamble on. Jaden Ivey has shown flashes of potential, but inconsistency and questions about his basketball IQ make him a questionable centerpiece in any blockbuster trade. Tobias Harris represents the most puzzling inclusion in this package. He's a declining veteran on an expensive contract who provides decent production but lacks the upside or impact that justifies trading a player of Brown's caliber. Harris feels like salary filler rather than a meaningful asset in a trade of this magnitude. The protected 2027 first-round pick adds insult to injury. For a player of Brown's caliber and contract situation, Boston would rightfully demand multiple unprotected first-round picks, not a single selection with protections that could render it worthless. The package feels more appropriate for a role player than a legitimate all-star in his prime. Brad Stevens has been crystal clear about his organizational philosophy. The Brown-Tatum partnership represents the foundation of Boston's championship aspirations. Breaking up that duo would contradict everything the Celtics have built over the past several seasons and signal a complete philosophical pivot that makes no strategic sense. Stevens has already made significant roster adjustments this offseason, moving Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday to navigate salary cap restrictions while maintaining competitive flexibility. These moves demonstrated surgical precision rather than wholesale demolition, suggesting that Stevens views the current core as championship-capable with proper supporting pieces. Trading Brown would represent organizational panic rather than strategic planning. The Celtics aren't a failed franchise desperately seeking direction. They're a consistent contender with proven star power and championship experience. Teams in Boston's position add complementary pieces. They don't trade away foundational elements. Boston's salary cap maneuvering has been driven by the NBA's new second apron restrictions rather than any desire to break up their core. The Celtics have successfully navigated these financial constraints while maintaining their competitive foundation, proving that smart organizations can adapt without sacrificing their championship chances. The $7.7 million in salary savings from this proposed trade pales in comparison to Brown's on-court value and leadership impact. Championship teams don't prioritize modest salary relief over elite talent, especially when that talent is locked into a reasonable long-term contract. Stevens' moves this offseason demonstrate sophisticated cap management rather than penny-pinching desperation. The Celtics have positioned themselves to compete immediately while maintaining future flexibility, exactly what championship contenders should prioritize. The Eastern Conference landscape makes trading Brown even more illogical for Boston. With teams like Miami, Philadelphia, and New York constantly seeking upgrades, the Celtics need every advantage to maintain their competitive positioning. Trading away one of their best players would essentially gift-wrap Eastern Conference supremacy to their rivals. Brown's defensive versatility becomes even more valuable when considering potential playoff matchups against elite wings throughout the conference. His ability to guard multiple positions and create offensive mismatches provides Boston with strategic advantages that can't be replaced through committee or system adjustments. The most compelling argument against this trade is Boston's current championship timeline. Brown and Tatum are both in their primes, surrounded by a supporting cast that understands how to win at the highest level. This isn't a declining team desperately seeking youth. It's a contender that should be maximizing its current advantages. Championship windows are precious and finite in professional sports. Teams that win titles typically do so by adding to their strengths rather than trading them away for potential future assets. Boston has the talent, experience, and organizational infrastructure to compete for championships right now. This trade proposal serves as an interesting thought experiment, but fails spectacularly as practical roster construction. Detroit would obviously accept this deal immediately, but Boston would be committing organizational malpractice by even considering it seriously. The Celtics have spent years building the Brown-Tatum partnership, developing chemistry and system familiarity that provides them with sustainable competitive advantages. Trading Brown would destroy that foundation for a collection of assets that might never reach his level of impact and production. Sometimes the most interesting trade proposals are the ones that demonstrate why certain players should never be traded. Jaylen Brown represents exactly that type of untouchable asset, a player whose value extends far beyond what any realistic trade package could provide in return. This trade proposal is absolutely wild. Do you think there's any universe where Boston should consider breaking up the Brown-Tatum duo? Or is this just another case of analysts getting carried away with unrealistic blockbuster ideas? The thought of trading Brown seems insane to me, but let me know in the comments if you think Detroit's package is better than I'm giving it credit for, and smash that like button if you agree that some players are just too valuable to trade regardless of the return.